What's up, y'all? Welcome to another review by Ryan. A very happy Friday to all of you. It is Friday, January 27th, and I hope you all are doing well wherever you're at in the world at the time you find this reaction. So in this reaction video, we will be reacting to the 4th episode of Spy Classroom. The title of today's episode is File Fool Erna, which is our 8th and newest member to our spy espionage gang. So in the last episode, we did get to see the fight and showdown and conclusion all in one fell swoop of Lamplight and Klaus as they went to get the Abyss Doll and take on the impossible mission. Come to find out, there was a traitor amongst Inferno, the group that Klaus used to be, and that traitor was none other than his mentor, Gudo. And throughout the episode, we got to see that fight go down between Gudo and the girls that are part of Lamplight, and right when Gudo thought that he had everything won, come to find out the girls had already known about the bugs and they knew that something was up because Klaus had already assumed that there had been a traitor amongst the Mist because it was just too coincidental that this top tier group, again the best of the best, had suddenly just all gotten killed, and things didn't really add up, and ultimately we did find out that Gudo was a traitor. He decided to betray sides for reasons that I probably still don't really understand, because I'll be fair, I did not go back and rewatch the episode like I was supposed to, but it did ultimately lead to a showdown between Klaus and Gudo was able to be taken out. Well, actually, technically, the fight was lost, but then a sniper tried to take out Klaus, and in his place, Gudo pushed him out the way, took the bullet, and was subsequently killed. In the episode, we did get the reveal, as I said, to the new girl, Erna. And with everything that transpired in the last episode, you know, this is a really sucky situation to be in. So, first off, I want to make a rating correction. I ended the episode feeling relatively optimistic just from some of the story points that I wanted to marginally improve with, and I said that the show put itself back in a 7 category. I'm putting that back down because as I was preparing for this reaction, I realized no, it's still barely passing, so it is still a 6. And unfortunately, the last episode was the 3rd episode mark, and if you go look at Mal, if you go in any of the forums, there's not a lot of conversation happening about this show, which completely makes sense why this is the most unwatched reaction on my channel. And being that this is a small channel, I already have a very limited amount of people who watch these reactions, but I do still pay attention to see what people are actually looking for and they aren't looking for. There aren't a lot of people looking for snippets or really much of anything about this show, and it comes down to the fact of episode 2. I still hold to the fact that episode 2 broke this whole show, because they just assumed that we were going to build up this camaraderie and understanding and link with these girls, with Lamplight. And the reality is the only 2 characters that we gained any link with was in episode 1 when we had Klaus and Lily have their interaction, and Lily wanted to fight for those girls to have a proper chance at a proper future where maybe, just maybe, they won't die. So that was the only time we really had a lot of story. Then episode 2 came. We completely skipped their training, which honestly, like I talked about with training arcs before, would have been very beneficial to us learning about the girls and learning about the environment and learning about a little bit more about the backstory of everybody. And we jumped straight into the impossible mission. And then you have Greta, the one girl that I really, really want to like, but I can't say I'm really attached to because we've gotten next to nothing to work off of. Oh, and then in episode 3, we introduced an 8th girl. So for the community, I get it. I personally did like the 3rd episode better than I did the 2nd episode, but I do believe that perhaps they have sabotaged the success of this whole show because not only have we still not truly established why, you know, these girls' backgrounds that led to them being here, which the 2nd episode could have greatly helped with that, or better yet, they could have just focused this entire 1st season on the impossible mission because that would have been building up their backstory and background and getting us emotionally attached to characters, but instead, 3rd episode felt like the end of the damn show. So I get where a lot of you that are still watching it or were watching it and have recently decided to stop watching it are coming from. Now I'm trying to, and one thing I aim to do with this reaction channel, especially if I continue to do these reactions for the foreseeable future, or if I do it here and there, is I want you guys to know that I'm going to try to look at it from a lens of both the positive and negative of everything. Shoot, if you go back and watch my Rent a Girlfriend reactions, I fought hard to find positive positive in a very negative situation. I could sit here and waste your damn time for 30, 40 minutes that my videos take, just sitting here bitching and moaning and complaining about the same things that we already know. But what I want to do is try to look at it from another lens and say, hey, well, yes, I get that this story point didn't really work out, but perhaps they tried this and the execution was off. And that's kind of how I feel about this first 3 episodes. I feel that they wanted to induce us immediately into the missions, and that these missions are going to kind of be episodic in nature, where there's going to be multiple stories being told at once, but they just missed the most fundamental part, which is the audience has to have a physical, well, not so much physical, but an emotional attachment and investment into your series. You can't just throw us into the impossible mission when we haven't actually been given some crumbs or some substance to get us to this point. And sadly, many people have decided after episode 3 that as much as we want to love the show, as much as you wanted to love this show, you just outright can't love it. And this is another season where there's a lot of great shows airing right now, and I get it. Not as a reactor, not only do I do these reactions, but of course I do watch a lot of shows. Like this season I'm watching about 15, 16 shows, and there's 2 more that might get added on, including Misfit. And it's just, when you're watching that many shows, or even when you're just watching a few, you kind of have to decide if a show is worth your time. And for many people, despite the fact these girls are cute, despite the fact the plots seem decent, many of you have just accepted that it's just not for you. They butchered it too much in the first 3 episodes, and now we have an 8th girl when we haven't even gotten attached to the first 7. So, this is a really complicated situation I'm in, and the show is teetering on the edge of failing right now. But I have decided to push forward, even with the limited watches to these reactions, and even with the limited support to the community to this show. I'm going to push forward as I always do, because one thing that many of you do not know, I do not drop a show. I didn't even drop the 2nd season of Promised Neverland, as abysmal and awful that season was. So if I could get through that in recent times, I can definitely get through this. I see the potential with this plot, but they're going to have a lot of ground to make up now that the mission, which would have been pretty much a season-ending mission, was wrapped up in 3 episodes. So now many of us are just like, well, what the hell is next? So we'll see. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and get the video set up, and it'll be a split second for y'all. We'll get this reaction started. Okay, so sorry about that. When the episode reaction started, about 1 minute into the reaction, my computer actually died. And by died, I mean died. Not battery died, not charge died. It is dead. Dead in the dirt. So, as a result of that, and because I did not feel like restarting, there, as you can see, will not be an actual episode overlay reaction at all. We're just jumping straight to post reaction. So, Gomenasai, sorry about that. Tends to happen that way. What are my thoughts on this episode, though? You heard what I said in the first part, and I kind of hold to that. So this episode was based around Erna, and I think now we know how they're going to direct the rest of this season. There are 12 episodes. We had 3 episodes already, and there are 8 characters. 8 plus 3 is 11, which means the 12th episode will probably be what's next for the series. I really do feel that these files that we're about to watch are going to be based on each girl. That may not be Lily, or maybe we'll get a little bit more about Lily's backstory and background than we got in the initial episode with her and Klaus. Sorry about that. This was a decent episode. I was about to say good, I'll say decent. I like Erna. I feel awful for her set of circumstances. Again, you always have that one character who's filled with an incredible amount of misfortune in their life, and she also was involved in a fire. She wasn't the cause of it, but unfortunately, because she has a lot of misfortune around her, the place that she lived caught fire. She was the only survivor of that fire, and since then she has felt that she does not have the right to be alive while everyone else lost their life. And so she tends to navigate herself towards where misfortune is, so that hopefully one of these days her life can actually end in the way she thinks it should have. But being around the girls that she is right now, it started to change a little bit. They want to be friends with each other while also maintaining professionalism and all their spy stuff. And of course, right now they're trying to catch their teacher, because this is now, as we know, 10 days after the events of them being introduced to Klaus and their mission to basically capture him one good time. So this episode was fine. I like the way they did present her story. I think it was as good as it could be, but we have one just major issue here. If we're about to do what we're about to do, where we're showing character files for each character, and then we're going to have 1 or 2 episodes that are actually going to navigate us to the next phase, it's going to upset me a little because we've already, excuse my language, fucked up the entire flow of the story. This is what we should have gotten before the impossible mission happened. Like, literally, the way the impossible mission was portrayed, the way it was written, the way it was given to us, the viewer, was this is do or die. And it's over. It's over. He's already been to the graveyard now, and now we're moving on to going backwards, filling in all the blanks with the girls and their struggles and why they ended up in the place that they ended up in. And again, I can tell that the personality of the girls is going to be really dynamic and really fun to be around, but they've already messed the flow of the show up. So I'm going to have to sit here, and then what I'm going to do my best, guys. I'm going to do my best to treat each character file. If that's what we're about to do, each file is going to be on the different characters that are present and their backstories. I'm going to treat each of these episodes separately, and I'll give them their appropriate rating. But unfortunately, it's all going to come back to the first 3 episodes and how we kind of jack the whole flow up. And I'm if they do what I'm hoping they'll do, which will get me attached to the girls, then the show may end as a 6. But to get to a 7, there will actually have to be some secondary major plot point that actually will really need to start in the middle of one of the character files, perhaps in episode, this is episode 4, so perhaps in episode 5 or episode 6. And that's the only way that this show stands a chance at getting to a 7. And that's that, and it's going to be tough. It's going to be really, really tough. Again, there was another show that even through all of its best efforts, I still realized I had to give a 6 to, and that was the show that I've talked to you about, Shinobu no Itoku, where they just took too long to ramp up an actual plot that we actually would be interested in. And by the time they got to the end, it was just far too late. The show was far too gone. Most people's attention was already over. And even when we were gaining attachment to certain characters by the end, it didn't even matter by that point. So, man, this sucks. Like, I gotta tell you guys, when this show was first advertised, I really, 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 really thought that this show was going to be one of my top shows of the season. And it's really disappointing to me that now that I can tell what direction they're going to go, it's not even going to end up in my top 10. But regardless, I'll take it week by week. I'll see how all the episodes play out. And perhaps we will have a really, really shining episode somewhere before the end. And maybe a plot that will actually bring some people that have left the series back into it. I doubt it if this is what they're about to do, but I'll hold out hope until the end. But regardless, I like Erna. I liked her presentation. I thought this was a decent episode, all things considered. And I guess I look forward to seeing what the stories for the rest of the girls is going to be. So that wraps up this actually much shorter video than normal, since there is no episode overlay to show any of you of my actual reaction, so sorry about that, but we'll be back on track next week. I also have an announcement about some reaction delays that's going to happen. I'll announce those next Saturday. I'll have a separate video about those, as I am getting ready for a trip overseas, and that will cause a delay to some of my reactions. So I'll talk to you guys about that next week, though. Thanks a lot for watching. For those who are watching these reactions, if you did like the video, consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. And if you want to be one of the first to be notified when a new reaction becomes available, hit the bell icon. So I will see all of you wonderful people next week for another episode of Spy Classroom. And until that time, catch you later.